Hey guys, Marcy here, the Cranky Crafter. It's Fodder Friday. We made it to another Friday. This week, if you can see down here, I have some watercolor paper and I have some sketches on here. Now, generally, I don't do sketches. I don't actually find myself to be a particularly good person at drawing. I usually will just put paint on paper and hope for the best. But for this particular one we're going to do today, which is feathers, and the way that we're going to do it, it helps to have somewhat of an outline, at least for me. If you want to do it without an outline, you do you, boo. So we have a color palette that we're going to be using. I'm going to use this color palette because I'm going to end up using the feathers for Challenged from Scrimping Mommy. But you can use whatever colors you'd like. So these are the colors that she's got this time. And I tried to match as closely as I could with watercolors. And this is what I came up with. Hopefully that works out. So these feathers are quite large. You could make them any size you want. In fact, if you join into the challenge over at Scrimping Mommy's, she has graphics that you can print out that are actually feathers already printed, and you can just trace them. They're just like black feathers that she made in different shapes and whatever, and you can cut that out and put it on your paper and then just trace around it, and then you don't have to like try to freehand it. And they're smaller than this. In fact, you probably could find them somewhere else online too, as like a free printout or something if you wanted to do it that way. So I made 4 of these before. So we have this one. These are not at all in the color palette that I'm going to be using today, but these are just ones that I made when I was practicing. To me, there's all different shapes and sizes of feathers. So really, just try your hand at it. I don't think there's any right or wrong way, but something that I think that adds to it is, you see this one I just left as like the little quill there, and this one I put little feathers on the side. It kind of helps make it look more like a feather and not maybe a leaf. Maybe someone would look at that and think it was a leaf. I suppose you could also use it as a leaf if you wanted to. But what we're going to be doing today is a technique that we haven't done yet with the watercolor. In the past, everything that I've done with watercolor has been wet on dry, is what they call it, where you basically have a dry sheet of paper and you're bringing your wet paint and making some kind of image on the paper. Today, we're going to try to do what is called wet on wet, which basically means that you start with a wet paper and you add in your wet paint. You are in no way obligated to do it this way. You can totally do it wet on dry if that's what you want to do. I love doing wet on wet because the colors really just are kind of magical to me when you do that. Having said that, the caveat here is, if I need to remind you, I live in the desert. And so wet on wet can be quite challenging because basically you want your whole area to be wet and then you drop your color in while it stays wet. And that can be challenging here. And now that I think about it, maybe it's just challenging to me. Maybe if I moved somewhere else that wasn't desert, it would still be challenging. So I'm saying that it's the desert dry air, but maybe it's actually just Marcy. I can't prove that. I can't like hypothesize because this is where I live currently. So this is all I know. But I have my color palette made over here on the side with the colors I showed you. Hopefully we can get those to play well together. Today I'm going to be using a 10 long round. For this one, I think a larger brush will be good for how wet it's going to be, but I also think the point is nice for like some of the little points of the feathers. You also could use what they call mop brushes, which is this. Mop brush it's really heavy on the brush, like if you can tell the difference. Mop brushes hold a lot of liquid, and so if you're doing a huge surface area, mop brushes could come in really good handy. Like, listen, check out this big guy. Come on. He's chunky. Whoa. But for today, I think we're going to start with a 10. I may switch over to my 8. My 8 is my workhorse, but we'll see. So what we're going to do is basically get our brush wet, and we're going to wet one whole side of this feather. Now, Marcy, why aren't you wetting the entire feather? Because what I have found here in my environment, if I do the whole thing, it ends up being dry by the time I get to the rest of it. So my challenge is that I have to do it in bits. It might not be that way for you. Maybe where you're at is very humid. Maybe you're in the Midwest, which, you know, you step outside and you feel like you're in the sauna, and maybe yours would maintain the wet, but mine doesn't. So this is how we're going to do it. So you get your brush fairly wet. I still do drag it along my container a little bit, but you want it pretty wet. And basically what you're going to do is go within your lines, if you have lines, because wherever you put the wet, that's where your paint is going to stop, if that makes sense. It won't go out past where you've put your wet. Just doesn't, because it follows the moisture. So if you go out of the lines, it's going to go out of the lines. Do I go out of lines? Yes. Yes, I do. So see, I'm already getting dry up here at the top. So I'm coming back in with more water. All right, so I'm gonna get my paint. I'm choosing one of the colors in the palette. Got my paint. And the goal is when you put it on there, it's gonna kind of move where the water is. And yeah, you have to guide it, but it has a lot more movement than if you were doing wet on dry. And don't worry if you go out of the lines or whatever, because we'll be sketching around it. And you can also cut it, to make it how you want it, shape-wise. So while that's still wet on this side, I'm going to drop in some color. I've got like a pink color over here. I think I'll do like and the cool thing about wet on wet is that the color just behaves. It just is magic. I don't know how else to describe it. Okay, so now when we do this other side, we have two choices. Can you see this one, how I left the white in the middle as like the, what would it be, of the feather, the shaft? Whereas this one, I just colored the entire thing in. You can decide how you want to do it. But if you want that white line, then you basically have to leave it a white line on your paper, meaning no water there. And yes, it can be a little bit tricky. You basically want to just guide your brush down, leaving a very thin line where you don't want the paint to go. The nice thing about this is if you get it done and decide you don't like that white line, just color it all in. Then I'm going to come back in my paint. See, I'm already dry up here. I don't like this. I don't think the lights help either that I have on for the video. And then you can refine it, you know, just make it thinner if you want to. You can cover it all the way up if you want to. And you see that pink just kind of melted right into the color. So just depends. Depends on how much water you're using. You know, how much it's going to move. And then what I usually do is get a little bit more concentrated paint to do the little quill part. And I'll move some of that paint up in there. And then for the little like downy feathers, I don't know if that's what they actually are, I'm gonna go back into my actual palette and just grab some pretty concentrated paint, and you're gonna want a really fine point for this part, and you're just gonna kind of make little wispies. That makes sense. And then just let that dry, and it will dry however it's going to dry. This is one of those that you have to be okay with not coloring maybe in the lines, so to speak. You know, be okay with it kind of merging together and doing its own thing. Okay, let's move on to this next one. I think I'll do the lighter color. I have to mix it up though. Look at my water is already like purple. So if you see that you have color in your water when you're putting it down, that really is okay. I mean, I don't mind it. So adding water, staying within your sketch. If you don't want it to have the white line in the center, just wet the entire feather, or, you know, one side of it, or however, whatever your environment allows you to do. You'll be able to see as you're working the paper, when it's really, really glossy, the water, that means it's still quite wet. When it starts getting more of like a satiny finish, that means it's starting to dry. And so you either add more water or not, but if you add paint when it's like that, it's not going to move around as much. And so like when you drop a different color in, it can look one way when it's starting, and then when it dries, it might look totally different. These colors are a little bit muted compared to what I usually use. Just the palette is a little bit, you know, different, I guess. I think I will just color this one in entirely. And then I can come in maybe and make the middle with a paint pen or something. And like I said, if you don't like the wet on wet, then do it the other way. This way you definitely have to be okay with not having control over the end result, if that makes sense. And this is like one of the blue colors that we made. Okay, I think that's pretty. And then let me come in and do the bottom. What do we think about for the little downy feathers? Just use this light color, I guess. And this is still wet. If you don't want the colors to move at all for this bit, then make sure that the quill of your feather is completely dry. And you can tip your paper and kind of move it around. Hopefully I'm still in screen. All right, how about we do a couple of these blue ones maybe? I don't know which ones I'm going to use for the challenge, but don't worry too much about it's like if you're painting, especially with a lighter color, don't worry too much about your sketch lines showing, because, well, if you come in, you know, with your sketch pen at the end, you're not really going to be able to see the sketch line at all. Otherwise, I don't have one, but I know a lot of people use what's called a kneaded eraser, like a kneadable eraser, I think. And so they'll make their sketch, and then with that particular kind of eraser, it's very malleable, and then you just kind of dab your sketch and it will pick up the lead from your pencil. I don't have one. It's on my list of things to try. You don't even have to do full color, right? You can just kind of make marks and the color will move. I am almost out of this color. Clearly, I did not make enough. And then add in maybe one of these. That's pretty. How fun is that? And then you can kind of move it around how you want. Like if you don't want the white bits, fill them in. Now, you guys probably have seen like on Instagram or something, people that do this wet on wet and the color just like moves so swirly and whatever. It's actually very cool. But you have to use a ton of water to make that happen. And I just can't seem to keep mine wet to do that. So there you have it. Doesn't work. Doesn't work for me. It could be that I need practice. Okay, let's do this. And I think I'll dip it in here and get something. You don't have to do these little downy feathers. I think they're kind of cute. One more. I just got done having a friend over and we did some painting, some watercolors. It was fun. We did flowers. She's kind of new to the whole watercolor scene. So it was fun showing her all the different techniques and whatever. Do you guys have big plans for the weekend? I don't think I do. I do. I just lied. I have huge plans. I got confused because I'm recording this on a different day, but I'm having a girlfriend come over and stay for the weekend. I have to get through my work week first, and then we get to have fun. So that will be fun. We'll make good food, hang out, you know, all the things that you do with your girlfriends. Had to clean the chicken coop this weekend. Chickens never show any appreciation for that. It's rude. I mean, you know, the least they could do is lay a couple of additional eggs or something to make me feel like I've done something worthwhile. That one just went right out of the lines, didn't I? I'm like down to bare bones, you guys. Look. Bare bones on all of my colors. That's the barest of bones. I've got a little bit of this blue left. What should we do with it? can kind of make the center that way. That's fun. Oh, I don't want to touch it anymore because I like it. Oh, I need to make the... You do the bottom. Grayson's already working, which is great because he needs to save up some money. That kid. He likes to buy things, man. Which is all right. As long as you're using your own money, buy as much as you want. He enjoys working though, so that's nice. He wants to find another job actually, so he has 2 jobs. I don't know how likely that is, but more power to him is what I say. All right, I'm going to pause and dry, and then we can figure out what we want to do. Okay, we are, I think, mostly dry for the most part. Turned out pretty good. This one, see how it's kind of out of the lines, which is okay because we can, when we cut it out and when we sketch it, it'll be fine. I think we stuck to the palette pretty good, so I think that's good. So now you can decide, do you want to, you know, doodle on the leaves? Are you good with just them being like it is? I'm going to take my trusty pen and I'm just going to outline this one. I'll probably outline them all first and then decide. Whoa. What the heck that is. I like to do it twice, just like, you know, most all the other stuff I do. And then you can come down here and do this bit if you want to. I don't add any black in here, but you totally could if you wanted. Okay, let's just do this. I don't have any idea what I'm going to do for the actual challenge as far as like making my tag. I mean, I have an idea in my head, but we all know how that goes. I can have lots of ideas in my head. It does not mean that it translates well onto paper. And I very well might decide once I get there that I should have made these smaller. And I guess I'll find that out when it happens. Because these are some good sized leaves. Not leaves, they're feathers. Oh, you guys know what? Do you have an Instant Pot? I really didn't use mine often, and then my girlfriend reminded me that I could make yogurt. So I've been making yogurt in my Instant Pot because I eat a ton of yogurt. And this time I made it and then I actually strained it so that it would get all the whey out of it. Oh my gosh, so good. It's like so thick. It's like, geez, it's almost like cream cheese. Now, I know a lot of people probably wouldn't like that, but I like it. and I put strawberries on it, and I put my granola on it that I make, and some nuts. So good. Okay. So we can come in and just doodle on here if we want to. What do we want to do? How about I mean, I'm making stuff up. This, you could do this 857 different ways. If you wanted to. Don't want to do it on both sides. I kind of like it just on one. I kind of do. Okay, for this one, should we put like a black line in the center? I was kind of thinking maybe that we could, like, I don't know what I'm doing. That's kind of fun. And then maybe, nope, that's gold. Maybe we can do bigger dots. My brain isn't working for doodles right this minute. You're like, you just did the same thing on the other side. That's dumb. And I just got it on me. Oh, for Pete's sake. It's fine. Okay. And I may put a white one in the center of this one, maybe. Is it going to work? A little bit. A little bit. Maybe I could do around the colors. I harvested my last head of lettuce. That lettuce has been so good this year. Did you guys grow anything in your garden? Are you growing anything? My cool weather stuff is almost all done. Like my peas are like telling me that this 100-degree weather can just piss right off. That's basically what they're saying. What can I do on this one? I feel like I want something bigger up here. Oh, maybe I can just do like, make this like it was actually supposed to be there. As opposed to the fact that it's not really supposed to be there. I probably need to look up more ways on how different ways I can add doodles. Do I want a line on that one? No, I'm gonna leave it like that. Okay, let's cut out a couple. Those are not the scissors I want. Oh, no, don't cut them out yet. Because you know what I wanted to do was some splatters of something. What color splatters should we do? Maybe like this color. It's like a blue something. All right. Splatters make everything cooler. And if you don't think so, then you're wrong. No, you're not. I'm just kidding. Kind of. Should probably dry that. So this is a pretty simple bit, right? The only tricky bit is when you get down to these like little downy feather parts, and you have to decide how finicky you want to get with it. I haven't got too finicky. Like, I kind of just go around a little bit. You could definitely get more, you know, crazy with it. But I kind of just cut around it. Move the paper. Always easier to move the paper than the scissors as much as you can, I think. Again, if you don't like the wet on wet technique that we used, go back to the other way. You know that I showed you with everything else. It's okay. Not everybody likes the wet on wet. Whoa. It's quite, you know, it's just personal preference is all it is. Try not to get my fingers in these splatters. My husband plays basketball several times a week, and he got all the way to the gym yesterday, realized he didn't have his shoes. He sent me a message. Can't really play basketball very well without my shoes. I'm like, oh, that's not good. So he had to drive all the way back. What happens when you get to be older. You have to like ask yourself before you leave the house. Do I have everything? And it's not foolproof, because yourself can say, yeah, you got everything. Just ask me that. And then you get to where you're going and you realize, nope, I actually did not have everything. Myself lied to me. And while that may seem rude, it happens. Happens. Okay, you guys don't have to sit here and watch me cut all the rest of these. But that's 2 of them. That's 2 of them that we did cut out. And then we have these other 2. Now, you're going to have to come back when it's time to use them in the challenge. Because I don't know what I'm going to do yet for that. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. So I hope you guys have a great weekend. Happy Friday. Happy weekend. If it's your weekend, I hope it is. And I'll see you next time.